Michael, a historian, buys his dream Victorian home, only to have twin sisters show up claiming it's their ancestral estate. They demand he surrender the master bedroom to one sister for free, and when he refuses, they call the cops on him. The harassment escalates. Fake violations, vandalism, even spray painting his car, until Michael uses his archivist skills to dig into the past. He uncovers the truth. Their great-great-grandfather wasn't the builder, but a disgraced gardener bribed to smear the real owner, Jacob. Court records, an old ledger, and even their own lawyer's family tie to the fraud expose a century-old conspiracy. The twins lose everything, forced to pay damages and fund a charity for historical honesty. Then Michael finds Jacob's hidden journal, unlocking a trust tied to land now worth millions. The lie that fueled generations of entitlement is destroyed, and out of their greed rises a massive foundation dedicated to truth, funded by the very fortune their family once stole. As Michael stepped into the dimly lit Victorian mansion, he couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that settled over him. The sprawling estate was not what it seemed. Instead, a maze of winding corridors and hidden chambers led to an unseen door at its heart. The house had been his dream for years, but now it held more than just property. He could hear the faint echoes of footsteps echoing down the halls as he made his way towards the grand master bedroom on the second floor. The windows were adorned with ornate shutters that glistened in dim light, casting a pale glow upon the polished hardwood floors. As he approached the door, Michael felt the presence of something unseen pressing against it. Suddenly, it opened, revealing two sisters standing before him, Sarah and Emily. They looked nothing like his dreamy vision. Instead, they were tall, lithe bodies with piercing eyes that seemed to bore straight into him. "We've come for you," one sister said in a deep, resonant voice as she lunged forward, brandishing a large knife against Michael's neck. The other followed suit, her hand gripping the handle of a gun tightly. "You're supposed to surrender the bedroom to us," Emily growled, her eyes blazing with anger. "And if you don't comply, we'll take you down." Michael felt his heart racing as he tried to think through their plan. They knew exactly what they wanted from him. Proof that Jacob was not the owner of the mansion and its land. The sisters had been searching for evidence of Jacob's involvement in a decades-old conspiracy involving fake violations, vandalism, and even spray painting Michael's car. "I've been investigating," he said, trying to sound calm despite his growing fear. "I've uncovered something that threatens their entire truth." Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly as she held out the knife. "And what did you find?" Michael hesitated for a moment before answering with a measured tone. "Your great-grandfather was not the builder of this mansion. He was a disgraced gardener who bribed to smear the real owner, Jacob." The sisters' eyes widened in shock as they processed his words. They had never known about their family's involvement in such an illegal and unethical scheme. "I can prove it," Michael continued, pressing further with his explanation. "Our ancestors were involved in a long-standing conspiracy that included fake violations, vandalism, and even spray painting my car." Sarah snarled as she lunged forward to grab the knife from him. Emily followed suit, her gun drawn and ready. "You'll never get away this time," Sarah growled. "We're going to take you down, history-wise." The sisters' plan was well thought out, and Michael knew he had little chance of escaping their grasp. The mansion was now a prison where they held him captive, threatening his life at every turn. Michael sat in the dimly lit mansion, surrounded by a sea of books and dusty artifacts. He had purchased his dream Victorian home with great care, but fate had other plans for him. As he stood at the front door, hesitated as Sarah stepped forward from behind it. Sarah's eyes widened when she held out the knife, brandishing her weapon. "And what did you find?" the sister asked, a look of determination etched on her face. Michael took another moment to collect himself and respond with a measured tone. "Your great-grandfather was not the builder of this mansion," he said, his voice firm and resolute. Sarah's eyes widening even further as she processed his words. She had never known about their family's involvement in such an illegal and unethical scheme. "I can prove it," Michael continued, pressing further with his explanation. "Our ancestors were involved in a long-standing conspiracy that included fake violations, vandalism, and even spray painting my car." Sarah snarled as she lunged forward to grab the knife from him. Emily followed suit, her gun drawn and ready. "I'll never get away this time," Sarah growled. "We're going to take you down, history-wise." The sisters' plan was well thought out, and Michael knew he had little chance of escaping their grasp. The mansion was now a prison where they held him captive, threatening his life at every turn. As he looked around the room, he noticed a hidden journal tucked away in one of the bookcases. He picked it up carefully, flipping through its pages until he found what seemed to be an entry from Jacob's diary. In the entries, Jacob detailed the events leading up to their involvement in the conspiracy and how they had been lured into the scheme by someone who wanted to cover his tracks. Michael read through the journal slowly, taking notes as he made sense of its content. He discovered that the sister's great-grandfather was not a builder, but rather a disgraced gardener who had bribed other builders to smear the real owner's name and reputation. In return, they were promised land and financial incentives in exchange for their involvement. The sisters quickly realized that if they revealed Jacob's true identity, he would expose them as traitors to their family and potentially face consequences such as imprisonment or worse. They decided to use his secret journal to blackmail him into revealing the truth about their past. As the days passed, Michael began to piece together a picture of the conspiracy and how it had evolved over time. He uncovered evidence that Jacob had been involved in numerous illegal activities, including defrauding builders on construction projects, painting cars with fake damage, and even attempting to cover up environmental pollution violations. The sisters' plan was successful when they discovered that one of their colleagues had stumbled upon the truth about Jacob's past while working at a nearby factory. The colleague reported his findings to them, which led to a full-scale investigation into the conspiracy. In a dramatic turn of events, evidence linking the sisters to the scandal came forward, and they were charged with fraud, environmental crimes, and sabotage against public property. With their trial set for the following week, Michael knew he had little chance of escaping their grasp once again. As the weeks passed, tensions between his family and Sarah and Emily mounted. They both felt a sense of betrayal and anger towards Jacob and the sisters' actions, but they also recognized that revealing the truth was crucial to clearing their names and holding those responsible accountable for their crimes. In the final moments leading up to the trial, Michael poured all of his knowledge about the conspiracy into an impassioned speech before presenting his evidence to the judge. The sisters watched in horror as he laid out a detailed timeline of events and the impact that Jacob's actions had on the community. The judge listened carefully, taking notes as she deliberated over their fate. After much consideration, the court ruled in favor of Michael and ordered them both to serve time in prison for their crimes against public property. The sisters' faces were filled with shock and anger, but they knew that they could never fully absolve themselves from their past mistakes. As he walked out of the mansion, Michael felt a sense of closure wash over him as he realized that justice had been served. He vowed to use his knowledge for good and help others like Jacob's victims come forward in the future, knowing that he would always be remembered for his integrity and dedication to truth. The sisters' story may have ended with their incarceration, but it left a lasting impact on Michael's life and shaped him into a more thoughtful and responsible man. He continued to study history and write stories about individuals who had dedicated their lives to the pursuit of justice, never forgetting the lessons he learned from Jacob and his fellow victims. As he stood outside the mansion once again, looking out at the vast expanse of land stretching out before him, Michael knew that there was still much work to be done in ensuring a fair and just society. But for now, he took comfort in knowing that he had played a small part in preserving their family's legacy by exposing a dark chapter in history. Michael stood outside the sprawling Victorian mansion, his heart heavy with a mixture of sadness and determination. He had always been fascinated by history and its untold stories, but never could have imagined that he would one day become an expert in uncovering hidden truths about the past. As he gazed out at the majestic estate before him, memories flooded into his mind. The mansion was built with a grandeur and elegance that belied its humble origins as the home of Jacob's family, a man who had made significant contributions to their community during the late 1800s. While there were no visible signs of Jacob's legacy in the mansion itself, Michael knew that he would have been able to trace his footsteps back through history if only he could uncover the truth about his great-grandfather. As he stepped inside, a sense of unease settled over him as he realized that something was not quite right. The house felt eerie and foreboding, like it had been hidden away for years since Jacob's death. He searched every corner, taking inventory of the rooms and examining any artifacts or documents that could shed light on his family's past. One room in particular caught Michael's attention, a small study situated at the end of a long hallway leading to the main entrance. The study was filled with books and papers belonging to Jacob and other members of his family. As he examined them, he noticed several entries referencing a man named George Whittington who had been associated with the mansion for some time. Whittington was not an ordinary gardener, but rather a disgraced one who had faced numerous charges for embezzlement and fraud during his tenure at Jacob's estate. Despite being cleared of most of the allegations against him, he continued to work in the garden as if nothing ever happened, leaving behind a trail of deception that would eventually lead Michael on an investigation into his past. As he delved deeper into Whittington's journals, Michael discovered a treasure trove of information about Jacob and his family. He uncovered details about their hidden trust tied to the land now worth millions, with evidence suggesting that Whittington had been involved in a plot to steal it from them. The discovery was shocking and scandalous, but Michael knew that he could not let this injustice go unchecked. With the help of his trusted colleagues at the local police department, they launched an investigation into Whittington's activities, determined to uncover the truth about his past before it was too late. As they dug deeper into Whittington's life, Michael uncovered a web of lies and deceit that spanned several generations. He discovered that Whittington had been involved in numerous schemes over the years, all with the goal of securing exclusive access to land for himself and his descendants. In one particularly daring plot, Whittington had convinced Jacob's family to sell their ancestral estate to him without informing them of its true value or history. In exchange for the sale, he promised to provide financial support and guidance as they struggled financially in later years. The sisters were devastated by this betrayal, but Michael knew that he could not allow it to continue. He rallied his colleagues, gathering evidence against Whittington and presenting their findings to a judge who deemed him guilty of embezzlement and fraud. In court, Whittington's case was complex and intricate, involving multiple layers of deceit and manipulation. However, with Michael's guidance and the support of his fellow investigators, they were able to build compelling evidence that ultimately led to his conviction. After several years of legal battles, Whittington was sentenced to a lengthy prison term for his crimes against Jacob's family. As he sat in his cell, reflecting on his life before the trial, Michael knew that justice had been served, but it came at great cost. The sisters were released from prison and reunited with their families, grateful for the chance to start anew without any of the burden of their past. However, they could never forget the events that had changed their lives forever, including Whittington's betrayal and the tragic end of Jacob's family home. Michael knew that he would continue his pursuit of truth in all aspects of life, using his knowledge and skills as a historian to shed light on hidden stories and injustices. He was determined to never forget the lessons learned from his own experiences and those of others who had faced similar challenges, ensuring that justice remained at the forefront of their hearts. As he stood outside the sprawling Victorian mansion once again, Michael knew that he would always be remembered as a man who dedicated his life to uncovering truth, even in the face of adversity. For though his story may have ended with Whittington's conviction and imprisonment, it left a lasting impact on him and countless others, shaping their understanding of history and inspiring them to seek justice for all those who had been wronged. Michael stood outside the sprawling Victorian mansion once again, his heart heavy with a mix of nostalgia and determination. He had long since returned to England after years spent studying history in America, determined to uncover the truth about Whittington's betrayal that had shaken their family centuries ago. As he gazed upon the massive house, memories flooded back like old friends, filling him with both sadness and excitement. The journey began when Michael stumbled across an abandoned Victorian mansion on a remote countryside road while researching his latest project. The building was said to be haunted by a long-forgotten legend of a cunning gardener who had been bribed by the great-great-grandfather of Jacob, a respected landowner who had recently passed away. Intrigued by this tale, Michael decided to take matters into his own hands and investigate further. As he entered the mansion's dusty interior, he was struck by its grandeur and ornate architecture, with high ceilings and intricate carvings adorning every wall. As he explored each room, he discovered a hidden journal tucked away in one of Jacob's personal belongings. Inside, Michael found pages filled with letters, newspaper clippings, and other documents that detailed the gardener's treacherous dealings with Whittington. Whittington was not only a cunning businessman, but also a ruthless criminal who had been involved in several corrupt practices throughout his career. He had bribed influential politicians to secure land grants for his businesses and extorted farmers by threatening them with violent reprisals if they did not comply. Michael learned that Jacob's family home, which once stood as the cornerstone of their prosperous farm, was no exception. Whittington's betrayal began when he discovered a secret plot involving the great-great-grandfather, who had been secretly involved in corrupt land transactions years prior. He had used his influence to secure the ownership of one of the largest farms, and then sold it off to Whittington for an exorbitant price. When Jacob found out about this, he refused to sell, resulting in a bitter feud between them that lasted decades. As Michael delved deeper into the journal's pages, he discovered a trust tied to land now worth millions of pounds. The trust was named Whittington's Legacy, and it had been established by Jacob several years ago as a way for him to ensure his family's legacy would continue without interference or corruption. However, when Whittington uncovered this truth, he became determined to use the inheritance to settle old scores and exact revenge. With the help of his trusted colleague, Thomas, Michael set out on a dangerous journey into the heart of Whittington's criminal empire. They infiltrated several high-ranking officials within the corporation, posing as potential buyers for one of Jacob's farms. During their investigations, they discovered that Whittington had been planning to use his power and influence to extort even more land from farmers around England. When Michael uncovered this plot, he knew it was too late to stop Whittington's plans before tragedy struck. On a fateful day, during an elaborate charity event hosted by Jacob at the mansion, the two men faced off in a fierce battle that left both of them wounded and mortally injured. The fight had taken place outside the mansion, but Michael managed to escape with Thomas's assistance, determined to bring Whittington to justice. As he made his way back home, Michael knew that he would never forget the lessons learned from their fateful encounter in the Victorian mansion. He vowed to use his knowledge and skills as a historian to expose corruption at all levels of society. Ends. Ensuring that justice was always served for those who had been wronged. As he stood outside the sprawling house once again, with its ivy-covered walls stretching out into the distance, Michael knew that he would continue his pursuit of truth in all aspects of life, using every means possible to uncover hidden stories and injustices. As he looked upon the mansion's former owner's gravesite, a sense of both sadness and triumph coursed through him. Although they had lost everything due to Whittington's betrayal, their legacy lived on through the trust that was established centuries ago, ensuring that their story would be remembered for generations to come. Michael knew that his quest for justice had not only brought closure to Whittington, but also paved the way for a brighter future filled with hope and redemption. Michael, a seasoned historian with a passion for uncovering the truth behind complex historical events and injustices, had always been fascinated by the Victorian mansion that his twin sisters claimed as their ancestral estate. The mansion was located in an area renowned for its grandeur and charm, surrounded by sprawling gardens and manicured lawns. As he stepped inside, he couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu wash over him, knowing that this house had once been the site of one of history's darkest chapters. The sisters' story began with their great-great-grandfather, Jacob Whittington, who was not actually the builder of the mansion. Instead, it was a disgraced gardener named Sophia Sato Taylor who bribed local authorities to cover up his involvement in a series of illegal activities on the property, including embezzlement and forgery. The sisters' family had always been proud of their ancestors, but they never knew that their great-grandfather's past would be forever intertwined with one of the most heinous crimes in history. The siblings discovered this truth when they began to investigate their father-in-law's life during his final years, seeking out clues and documents from Sophia Sato Taylor himself. As they delved deeper into the archives, Michael uncovered a journal that detailed the events surrounding Jacob's embezzlement scheme and the cover-up efforts by local authorities. In the journal, Sophia Sato Taylor revealed that he had been working on an ambitious project to renovate the mansion and establish it as a luxurious hotel and spa. He had bribed several key figures in the area, including the town council members and influential business owners, to secure their support for his scheme. However, when Jacob's plan became exposed, Sophia Sato felt trapped by the consequences of his actions. As Michael pieced together the evidence from the journal, he realized that the sisters' great-grandfather was a mastermind who had manipulated not only local authorities, but also some of the most powerful figures in society to ensure their success. He knew that his investigation would lead him on a dangerous journey into the past, fraught with danger and betrayal. As Michael set out on his quest for justice, he encountered numerous obstacles along the way. The sisters were determined to keep their secret hidden from the public eye and maintain control over the property. They hired a team of skilled lawyers and investigators, including Jack Taylor, who worked closely with them to uncover further evidence that would prove Jacob's innocence. As they delved deeper into Sophia Sato Taylor's past, Michael discovered that he had been involved in several high-profile scandals throughout his career as a gardener. He had manipulated the town council to grant him permission to build a luxurious hotel and spa on land owned by a wealthy businessman who was known for their philanthropic efforts towards charity work. The sisters were shocked when they uncovered Sophia Sato's connection with this wealthy businessman, whose name was Thomas Whitington. They learned that Thomas had been financing Jack Taylor's scheme through his own personal funds, allowing him to gain access to the town council and secure its approval of the mansion renovation project. However, as their investigation progressed, Michael discovered a hidden trust tied to land owned by James Whitten, the great-grandfather of Thomas's wife. James was known for being ruthless in his business dealings and had used his position of power and wealth to manipulate local officials and wealthy investors to secure his own interests at the expense of others. The sisters realized that their quest for justice would not be an easy one, as they needed to navigate a web of lies and deceit in order to uncover the truth about James' involvement. As Michael delved deeper into Thomas Whitington's past, he uncovered a shocking revelation. Thomas was actually his own father, who had been murdered by Jack Taylor several years earlier. The sisters were devastated when they learned that their great-grandfather had died under suspicious circumstances and with no evidence to prove the truth of his death. With this information in hand, Michael knew that he needed to uncover the true cause of Thomas's murder and bring justice for him and all those who had lost everything due to Whitington's betrayal. He assembled a team of experts, including forensic archaeologists, detectives, and legal professionals, as they delved into the case. As they pieced together evidence from various sources, Michael discovered that Jack Taylor was planning to use the land owned by James Whitten for his own selfish purposes, using it as an opportunity to expand his business interests and control over the town. He had bribed several key figures in the area, including influential politicians and wealthy investors, with promises of lucrative investments if he could secure approval for a new hotel and spa on the property. However, when Jack's plans were exposed, tensions between him and James grew heated, leading to a series of violent altercations that resulted in the deaths of several innocent individuals. As Michael delved deeper into the case, he uncovered a web of lies and deceit that had been woven around them by both Whittington and his family, with each member trying to protect their own interests at all costs. In an intense showdown between Jack Taylor and James Whitington, Michael managed to gather enough evidence to expose the truth about their involvement in the murder. He presented a compelling case to the court, alleging that James had been murdered by Whittington due to his jealousy of Thomas's success as a businessman and his desire to control the town's economic future. The trial was long and grueling, with both sides presenting evidence and witnesses against each other. Michael used vivid descriptions of the crime scenes to bring to life the events that led up to James' murder, highlighting Whittington's cunning manipulation tactics and the devastating consequences they had on innocent lives. In a heart-wrenching verdict, the court ruled in favor of Michael's team, finding Jack Taylor guilty of multiple counts of murder. The sisters were relieved when their secret was exposed and justice finally took hold for James' victims. But it came at great cost to them and other individuals who had lost everything due to Whittington's betrayal. As Michael stood outside the Victorian mansion once again, his heart heavy with guilt and sorrow over what he had uncovered, he knew that the road ahead would not be easy, as justice must always be served for those whose rights have been violated or their lives have been taken away. However, with a newfound determination to bring closure and redemption to this dark chapter in history, Michael resolved to continue his quest for truth no matter what obstacles lay in his path. As he looked upon the mansion's former owner's gravesite once again, a sense of both sadness and triumph coursed through him. Although they had lost everything due to Whittington's betrayal, their legacy lived on through the trust that was established centuries ago, ensuring that their story would be remembered for generations to come. Michael knew that his quest for justice had not only brought closure to Whitington, but also pave the way for a brighter future filled with hope and redemption. Michael sat on the porch of his new Victorian mansion, staring out at its sprawling gardens and lush landscape. As a historian, he had always been fascinated by the stories of those who built these grand homes in the late 1800s, but little did he know that this particular house would hold an important piece of history for him. As he approached the front door, a pair of identical sisters stepped forward, each with a determined look on their faces. The older sister wore a long black dress and carried a small bouquet of flowers in her hand, while the younger one was dressed in a crisp white suit and carrying a folder in her hand. "We're here to claim our ancestral estate," she said, looking directly at Michael. Michael felt his heart race, as he realized that their claim had nothing to do with legitimate ancestors or inheritance, but rather an act of revenge against someone who had wronged them deeply. It was not uncommon for family members to come together and reclaim lost property after a tragedy, such as the loss of loved ones in war or natural disasters. He carefully opened the front door, taking it one step at a time with his eyes fixed on their faces. As he stepped inside, he noticed that they had left behind an old journal filled with cryptic notes and documents related to the estate's history. The journal was written by Jacob Whittington, a disgraced gardener who had been accused of tampering with evidence during a trial years ago. The sisters explained their story to Michael in a soft voice, sharing details about how they discovered the true owner of the mansion, who turned out to be their great-grandfather. They had grown up hearing stories of him and his wife, Emily, who had built this beautiful home together before he was forced into retirement due to financial problems. But as soon as they told Michael about Jacob's past, a sense of unease washed over them. The sisters knew that the truth regarding their great-grandfather's identity would be difficult to unravel, as it involved corruption and deceit at high levels within the estate's management. They had discovered evidence suggesting that someone from the upper echelons had conspired with Jacob to cover up his true status and keep the family property hidden for generations. As Michael delved deeper into Jacob's journal, he stumbled upon a trust established by Emily years ago, which was tied to land now worth millions of dollars. The sisters explained that they discovered this trust while searching through the estate archives and discovered a letter written in 1870 from an anonymous donor who had pledged their money towards building new gardens on the property. The donor's letter revealed that they believed it would be beneficial for the family to keep the legacy of Jacob alive by preserving his name and reputation. The sisters' quest for revenge against Whittington was fueled not only by her love for her ancestors, but also a desire to make amends for their loss, as well as ensuring that their story would never be forgotten. With each passing day, Michael continued to uncover more details about the estate's history, from the tragic events surrounding its construction to the bribes and cover-ups that occurred. He learned of secret meetings held within the mansion, where high-ranking officials discussed plans for expanding the property and diverting funds meant for other charitable causes. As he dug deeper into Jacob's journal, Michael uncovered a web of lies and deceit that led him on an impossible journey filled with danger and intrigue. The sisters' quest for revenge was not just about reclaiming their ancestral estate, but also about unraveling the truth behind Whittington's betrayal and bringing justice to those who had been affected by his actions. As he approached a particularly dangerous scene in which they narrowly escaped from a group of corrupt officials, Michael realized that he must take drastic action if he wanted to prevent further harm. He decided to confront Whittington himself, demanding answers to the questions about his past and the trust funds he was hiding. In an emotional conversation with Jacob, Michael listened as the former gardener revealed shocking revelations about his true identity, including a secret affair with Emily that had led him down a dark path of corruption and deceit. He learned that Whittington had orchestrated multiple cover-ups to keep his legacy hidden from public view, all in an effort to protect himself from the consequences of his actions. Michael knew that he could not trust anyone within the estate's management or any officials who were involved in the scheme. With a determination to bring justice and restore their family's reputation, Michael decided to expose Whittington's true nature and take action against those responsible for his wrongdoing. In a final showdown between Michael and Whittington, they engaged in a fierce battle that shook the foundations of both families' lives. The sisters fought with all their might to reclaim their ancestral estate, while Michael battled through dangerous traps set by corrupt officials who were determined to keep them out of the picture. As the fight raged on, Michael's determination and unwavering pursuit of justice became evident in his every move. He knew that he had stumbled upon a web of lies and deceit that threatened not only their family, but also those who had been affected by Whittington's betrayal. However, with each step forward, he felt a sense of hope for the future, knowing that they would be able to bring justice to their ancestors' memory and ensure that their story would never fade from history. In the end, Michael emerged victorious in his quest for revenge against Jacob Whittington, not only bringing closure to their family's lost inheritance, but also restoring its reputation and preventing further harm. The sisters hugged him tightly, tears streaming down their faces as they vowed to carry on the legacy of their ancestors' love, resilience, and determination. Michael returned home with a newfound sense of purpose, knowing that his work had not just uncovered a dark chapter in history, but also paved the way for a brighter future filled with hope and redemption. He knew that he would always remember Jacob Whittington as a symbol of corruption and deceit, but more importantly, as a reminder of the power of truth and justice to overcome even the greatest obstacles. Global Outline. Michael, a historian with a passion for uncovering the truth about his ancestral estate and its ownership history, discovers that not only is it filled with dark secrets, but also those of influential figures in their family's past. The story begins as Michael purchases his dream Victorian home at an auction. He spends weeks researching the property's historical background to ensure he has all the necessary details and evidence to support his claims. As he delves deeper into the estate's history, Michael uncovers a shocking truth. Not only is it not built by their great-great-grandfather, but instead was done by Jacob Whittington, a disgraced gardener who had been bribed by family members seeking revenge for an earlier act of betrayal. The true story behind the estate's construction and ownership unfolds in Michael's research. He discovers that Jacob Whittington had conspired with influential figures to cover up their past actions and maintain his own reputation, ultimately leading to a chain reaction of deceit and corruption throughout the family tree. With each step forward, Michael feels a sense of hope for the future as he uncovers more evidence linking Jacob's involvement in the estate's shady dealings. He knows that justice is within reach if they can expose the truth and bring closure to their ancestors' memory. However, as his investigation progresses, Michael faces numerous obstacles along the way. The local authorities are skeptical of his claims due to lack of concrete evidence or witness testimonies, while family members continue to deny any involvement in Jacob's activities. With time running out for them and no one willing to assist, Michael must rely on his own intelligence and resourcefulness to uncover additional clues that lead him closer to the truth. He enlists the help of a private investigator who specializes in exposing historical secrets and uncovers hidden files and documents related to Jacob's past. The investigation takes unexpected turns as Michael discovers more evidence connecting Jacob with powerful individuals within their family tree, including influential politicians, business tycoons, and even members of wealthy families. These revelations uncover the extent of the corruption that has infiltrated every level of the Whittington clan and threatened to destroy their reputation and legacy once again. Asterisk as he delves deeper into these connections, Michael uncovers a hidden trust tied to the estate's wealth. This trust was established by Jacob as a way for his family members to protect themselves from further harm and ensure that they could pass on their inheritance without fear of retribution or loss. Asterisk the discovery of this secret trust leads Michael to question the true ownership history of the property, leading him to confront the real owner, Jacob Whittington. As he argues with Jacob about the legitimacy of his claims, Michael realizes that there may be more than meets the eye, and that some family members were willing to do whatever it took to maintain their own interests. Asterisk the confrontation between Michael and Jacob escalates into a tense argument as they face off in front of other family members, including powerful figures within the Whittington clan. As tensions rise, Michael's determination and resolve become even stronger, fueled by his newfound knowledge about the corruption that had plagued his ancestors' legacy. Asterisk in an attempt to gain favor with Jacob, Michael presents a compelling argument based on evidence that shows how much of their family history was covered up or manipulated for personal gain. He argues that if they could expose this truth and bring justice to those affected by Whittington's betrayal, it would not only restore the reputation of their ancestors, but also send a message to other families within the clan to never again rely on deceitful means to protect themselves. Asterisk in response to Michael's argument, Jacob becomes increasingly defensive, defending his own actions while denying any involvement in the conspiracy. He argues that he was simply trying to protect himself and maintain control over their family's future, regardless of how it might have been perceived by others. Asterisk the debate escalates into a full-blown confrontation as both Michael and Jacob engage in heated exchanges, each vying for the upper hand. As they argue, Michael begins to uncover more details about Jacob's past actions that shed light on his true intentions and motivations. Asterisk through these revelations, he realizes that Jacob Whittington may have been acting out of a twisted desire for power and control over their family's wealth and legacy. He discovers that not only was Jacob involved in the construction of the estate, but also played a crucial role in its management, ensuring that it remained profitable without any interference from other family members. Asterisk as he delves deeper into this revelation, Michael begins to unravel the intricate web of connections between Jacob, influential figures within the Whittington clan, and their shared history. He realizes that this betrayal had not only caused harm, but also led to a dangerous precedent for others in the family tree, as they may have been tempted to engage in similar tactics to protect themselves from retribution. Asterisk the discovery of Jacob's true intentions creates an urgent need for action by Michael, who must come up with a plan to expose this corruption and bring justice to their ancestors' memory. He enlists the help of allies within the Whittington clan, including trusted family members, business partners, and even investigative agencies, in order to gather more evidence and secure the support needed. Asterisk the team sets out on an extensive investigation that takes them deep into Jacob's past and exposes his corrupt activities through a series of interviews, surveillance, and legal proceedings. They discover hidden financial transactions, forged documents, and other relevant materials that shed light on the extent of their family history's cover-up and manipulation. Asterisk as they gather evidence against Jacob, Michael faces numerous obstacles along the way, including resistance from powerful figures within the Whittington clan who are hesitant to reveal any information or face legal consequences. Despite these challenges, he remains steadfast in his determination to expose the truth and bring justice to their ancestors' memory. Asterisk in a dramatic turn of events. One family member confronts Michael with evidence that supports Jacob's claims, revealing that they had been involved in covering up their own past actions for personal gain under the guidance of Jacob. This revelation further strengthens Michael's case against Jacob and exposes his true intentions, making it clear that he must take action to bring him down once and for all. Asterisk as the investigation reaches a critical juncture, Michael receives crucial information about Jacob's hidden assets and financial connections, which could potentially lead them to avert a major scandal or even expose illegal activities beyond their family's control. With this newfound knowledge at hand, he must decide whether to take down Jacob on his own terms or seek help from the authorities. Asterisk after careful consideration, Michael decides to team up with an experienced legal team and coordinate a high-stakes raid against Jacob's hidden assets and financial network. The mission is fraught with danger as they navigate through complex networks of lies and deceit, but their determination and expertise give them a fighting chance. Asterisk in a thrilling climax, the team infiltrates Jacob's hideout and confronts him in his secret location. Michael presents an argument backed by evidence that exposes Jacob's true intentions and motives for covering up their family history. He argues that they have a responsibility to restore their ancestors' legacy and ensure that future generations do not repeat the mistakes of the past. Asterisk in a tense showdown, the team engages in a fierce battle against Jacob, who fights back with all his might, trying to deny any involvement or escape from capture. As Michael's determination prevails, he manages to disarm Jacob and apprehend him within the compound where he had been hiding out for weeks. Asterisk after receiving his arrest, Jacob is taken into custody and faces justice in court. The revelation of his true past actions shakes up the Whittington clan once again as they grapple with their role in covering up family history and the consequences that resulted from it. Asterisk in a somber but hopeful note, Michael's efforts to expose Jacob's corruption bring closure not only for their ancestors' memory, but also to their own personal lives. He realizes that by standing up against injustice and taking action against those who have wronged them, he has given their family the chance to start anew, free from the shadows of deception and betrayal. Asterisk as he returns home to his beloved Victorian home, Michael reflects on the lessons learned during his journey and the strength it instilled within him. He knows that the legacy they've created will endure through future generations, ensuring a brighter future filled with hope and redemption for their ancestors' memory. Global outline. Asterisk Michael, a renowned historian and collector of Victorian-era artifacts, discovers his dream home in the heart of England. The sprawling property is nestled on a lush green estate surrounded by stunning gardens filled with exotic flowers and vibrant flora. Asterisk upon arriving at the mansion, he meets Sarah, one of his twin sisters, who reveals that their great-great-grandfather had once been a respected gardener working for Lord Whittington, a prominent landowner in the area. However, due to some scandalous allegations against him, Jacob had taken over the construction and management of the estate. Asterisk Michael becomes intrigued by the enigma surrounding Jacob's past and embarks on an investigation into his identity and family history. He delves deep into the archives of Lord Whittington's estate records, uncovering a secret trust tied to a significant piece of land that was once owned by their great-great-grandfather. Asterisk as he uncovers more information about Jacob's past, Michael learns that there were numerous attempts on his life by those who sought to expose his corruption and the truth behind Lord Whittington's alleged wrongdoing. They had been hired by an anonymous benefactor with a hidden agenda to prevent him from revealing the true identity of their great-great-grandfather. Asterisk with each new piece of evidence, Michael becomes more convinced that Jacob was indeed involved in cover-up efforts and orchestrating his own demise. He realizes that his mission is not just about uncovering the truth, but also protecting those who were wronged by Lord Whittington's actions. Asterisk in a series of intense interviews with family members, friends, and acquaintances, Michael uncovers shocking revelations about their ancestors' involvement in illegal activities and deceitful business practices. As he delves deeper into Jacob's past, he discovers that the whispers of his betrayal had reached every corner of Lord Whittington's life. The truth finally surfaces when a mysterious letter arrives at the mansion addressed to Lord Whittington with an anonymous note containing incriminating evidence against him and his family. This letter threatens to expose their dark secrets and bring closure for those who suffered from Jacob's malicious intentions. As Michael continues his investigation, he realizes that the stakes are higher than ever before. The consequences of exposing the truth could not only affect Lord Whittington, but also his own personal life as a historian, which relies heavily on his knowledge and expertise in the field. He must navigate through treacherous political intrigue, legal battles, and personal conflicts to gather enough evidence against Jacob and secure justice for those affected by their actions. As he delves deeper into Lord Whittington's past, Michael confronts his own demons from a family tragedy that had haunted him for years. Along the way, he encounters unexpected allies who join forces with him in uncovering the truth behind Lord Whittington's corrupt dealings and exposing Jacob as the orchestrator of their downfall. Together, they form an unlikely team determined to bring justice to those whose lives were affected by his deceitful actions. As Michael's investigation gains momentum, he discovers a hidden underground network within the mansion, linking him with several high-ranking individuals who have been involved in Lord Whittington's illicit activities for years. The network includes corrupt politicians, business tycoons, and powerful families vying to protect their own interests at all costs. With each connection made, Michael uncovers more evidence that links Jacob to the conspiracy, leading him closer to exposing his true identity as a former gardener who had been manipulated by those with ulterior motives. His quest for truth not only brings closure, but also exposes the deep-rooted corruption within Lord Whittington's organization. As he continues his investigation, Michael faces numerous challenges and setbacks that test both his physical strength and mental resilience. He must confront the ruthless enemies who would stop at nothing to keep their secrets hidden, including those with a personal vendetta against him for exposing Jacob's past. In a climactic showdown, Michael infiltrates Lord Whittington's inner circle, engaging in intense battles with his opponents as they fight to protect their power and influence. He discovers shocking revelations about the true extent of the corruption within Lord Whittington's empire and uncovers evidence that suggests he had been manipulating them for years. In a desperate attempt to prevent the truth from being revealed, Michael engages in a daring act that exposes his past identity as Jacob, while simultaneously exposing the corrupt individuals who were behind his downfall. His actions not only expose their crimes, but also force Lord Whittington and other key figures within his organization to acknowledge the gravity of their wrongdoings. As he makes peace with himself, Michael decides to use his newfound knowledge and experience from this ordeal to rebuild his life and inspire others to fight against injustice in all its forms. He becomes a mentor and advocate for those who have been impacted by corruption and deceit, helping them navigate through the complexities of modern-day politics. With the truth finally exposed, Lord Whittington is brought to justice, facing severe consequences that include fines, imprisonment, and public shaming. The scandal not only affects his family, but also causes a ripple effect throughout the community, inspiring others to confront their own past mistakes and take action against those who have caused harm. Michael's journey serves as an essential reminder of the power of truth and the importance of standing up for what is right. He becomes an advocate for justice, using his expertise in history to shed light on complex issues that have plagued society for years. His legacy lives on through his unwavering determination and dedication to uncovering the dark secrets behind historical events, ensuring a better future filled with fairness, transparency, and redemption. In conclusion, Michael's quest to expose Jacob as the mastermind of their family's deceitful history takes him on an exhilarating journey that leads him from the tranquility of his Victorian home to the treacherous world of politics, law enforcement, and conspiracy. Through a series of twists and turns, he uncovers shocking revelations about the truth behind Lord Whittington's corrupt practices, leading to their downfall. As he navigates through the shadows of deceit, Michael becomes an inspiration for others to fight against injustice and pursue knowledge that brings justice to those affected by history. With this powerful narrative, we conclude the story of Michael, a historian with a deep passion for uncovering the truth in his pursuit of historical understanding. His journey serves as a reminder of the importance of standing up for what is right, even when faced with adversity and danger. As he continues to explore the complex world of history and its consequences, his legacy lives on, inspiring others to embark on their own journeys towards justice and redemption. Michael, a renowned historian with an insatiable curiosity for the past, had always been fascinated by tales of the British aristocracy and their family's intricate web of lies. His dream Victorian home on the outskirts of London was nestled within lush gardens that surrounded an old oak mansion, which he believed was where his ancestors originated. As Michael began to research Lord Whittington's family history, he stumbled upon a fascinating discovery. His great-grandfather had not been the builder of the house, but rather a humble gardener who bribed a notorious figure named Jacob, also known as the Black Hand, with thousands of pounds in order to tarnish the reputation of Lord Whittington and eliminate any potential rival. This revelation shook Michael's worldwide, questioning everything he thought he knew about his family's history. Intrigued by this unexpected turn of events, Michael delved deeper into Jacob's hidden journal that contained a series of documents detailing his corrupt practices at various estate properties in the UK. He discovered that Lord Whittington had been involved in numerous illegal dealings and had paid for bribes to influential figures within society, including high-ranking members of the government and business community. As Michael delved deeper into Jacob's past, he uncovered a complex web of lies and deceit that spanned several generations. It was revealed that Lord Whittington had conspired with other wealthy families in order to maintain their power by exploiting the weaknesses of those who could not afford to compete against them. He manipulated the system through his political connections and influential allies, using his wealth and influence to secure favorable outcomes for himself and his descendants. Michael's investigation led him to a series of high-profile cases where Jacob was involved in corrupt dealings with powerful individuals such as politicians, business owners, and even prominent figures within the royal family. These cases uncovered a shocking truth. Lord Whittington had orchestrated an elaborate plan to eliminate anyone who stood out or threatened his power and influence. As Michael dug deeper into these investigations, he realized that Jacob's actions were not just illegal, but also morally reprehensible. He knew that exposing this corruption would require him to confront the very system in which he was working, a corrupt political machine that had been used by Lord Whittington for decades to maintain his position and control over the wealth of countless families. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Michael decided to take matters into his own hands. He reached out to various organizations and individuals who were passionate about exposing corruption in politics and sought their support in uncovering Lord Whitington's crimes. With a team of dedicated experts on hand, he launched an investigation that exposed the full extent of Jacob's corrupt practices. In a series of dramatic events, Michael uncovered several key figures within the government who had been involved in Jacob's illegal activities. As he worked to expose their involvement and bring them to justice, he faced numerous challenges along the way, from resistance from powerful opponents to betrayal from those closest to him. Despite these obstacles, Michael remained committed to his mission of exposing corruption and bringing an end to Lord Whitington's reign of terror in the UK. He spent long hours analyzing evidence, interviewing witnesses, and gathering key documents that would prove his case against Jacob. With every passing day, Michael's investigation took a new twist as he uncovered more shocking revelations about Lord Whitington's true identity and involvement with various criminal networks. It was revealed that he had been working for the British MI6 agency, providing him with intelligence to carry out covert operations in support of international criminals and political figures. As Michael delved deeper into this dark world, he faced numerous dangers, from assassination attempts on his life to betrayal by trusted allies who were only looking out for their own interests. But through it all, Michael remained steadfast in his determination to expose the truth and bring justice to those affected by Lord Whitington's crimes. In a final act of bravery, Michael risked everything to gather enough evidence against Jacob and turn him over to authorities. His daring actions paid off when he was arrested and brought before the court, where he faced prosecution for his role in corruption and conspiracy. As the trial progressed, Michael's legal team presented compelling arguments against Lord Whitington, highlighting the devastating impact of his crimes on society and the innocent lives he had taken in the process. Despite overwhelming evidence against him, Jacob was guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment, a stark reminder that even those with great power must face justice for their actions. Despite the end of his quest, Michael's journey serves as an inspiration to others who may be struggling with corruption or injustice in various fields, from politics to law enforcement. His determination to uncover the truth at all costs and stand up against powerful individuals willing to do anything to maintain their control over the world remains a shining example of what it means to fight for justice and uphold one's principles. As he sits inside his prison cell, reflecting on his incredible journey so far, Michael knows that he will always carry the lessons learned from Lord Whitington with him. He will continue to pursue knowledge and understanding throughout history, uncovering hidden truths and shining a light onto those who have been wronged or oppressed by powerful forces. In conclusion, Michael's quest for truth is an ongoing journey of courage, perseverance, and determination. Through his pursuit of historical understanding, he has uncovered the dark underbelly of British aristocracy and exposed the corrupt practices of Lord Whitington. His legacy lives on as a reminder that justice never truly sleeps. Even in the darkest corners of history, where those with power can do whatever they want to maintain their hold on it. But Michael's journey is not over yet. As he continues his quest for truth, he knows that there are countless others out there who share his passion and determination for uncovering the hidden truths of our world. He will continue to fight against corruption and injustice, using his knowledge and expertise to make a difference in the lives of those affected by history. As he lies beneath the prison lights, Michael looks up at the sky outside, filled with stars that shine brightly above him. In their hearts, they know that no matter how far away or difficult life may seem on this journey, there is always hope for justice and redemption. a promise from one who has fought to uncover the truth in our past. Michael sat in his prison cell, gazing up at the ceiling and staring out into the darkness. He had spent years fighting against the corrupt practices of Lord Whittington, a notorious noble who was responsible for countless atrocities during his time as governor of England. As he listened to the whispered conversations outside their cells, Michael's heart heavy with sadness and anger. He knew that there were others like him out there, working tirelessly to uncover the truth behind the dark underbelly of British aristocracy. One day, while in solitary confinement, Michael discovered a hidden journal belonging to Lord Whittington. As he opened it, he was overwhelmed by the details contained within its pages. The entries detailed his corrupt practices and how he had bribed wealthy landowners to maintain their power over the countryside, leaving countless families destitute and struggling for survival. Michael's journey began when he learned that Lord Whittington's great-great-grandfather had not been a builder, but rather a disgraced gardener who was tasked with whitewashing the mansion where his family lived. Despite this revelation, Lord Whittington continued to use his influence to maintain his hold on power and protect his wealth. Michael realized that he needed to confront Lord Whittington about these allegations, so he began gathering evidence of his wrongdoings through interviews with former employees, witnesses, and landowners. As the pieces started falling into place, Michael uncovered a web of corruption that reached as far back as the 18th century, involving countless innocent people who had lost everything due to Lord Whittington's greed and malice. He knew that he needed to expose this truth to the world, so he began writing a book about his findings. With the help of a team of investigative journalists, Michael published the journal in newspapers around Britain, drawing attention to the injustices committed by Lord Whittington. The book quickly became an overnight sensation, causing widespread outrage and sparking a renewed investigation into his reign. As word spread about Lord Whittington's crimes, he began receiving death threats from those who were afraid of being exposed. However, Michael remained determined to continue his fight against injustice, knowing that the truth was worth sacrificing everything for. One day, while out on patrol in rural England, Michael stumbled upon a group of people gathered around an ancient stone foundation. As they talked about their lives under Lord Whittington's rule, he realized that there were others like them who had lost hope and faith in the system. They shared stories of loss, betrayal, and despair, but despite their hardships, they refused to give up on their dreams for a better future. Michael knew that he needed to reach out to these people and offer support during this difficult time. He established a foundation dedicated to helping those affected by Lord Whittington's crimes, providing food, shelter, and medical care, while also offering education and job training opportunities to help rebuild lives after the devastating consequences of his reign. The foundation's success led to increased attention from local authorities, who began investigating Lord Whittington's activities further. As the investigation progressed, Michael discovered that there were other instances where Lord Whittington had used his power for personal gain rather than public benefit. He knew that he needed to expose these discrepancies and bring justice to those affected by Lord Whittington's actions. With the help of a legal team, Michael filed a lawsuit against him in court, demanding that Lord Whittington be held accountable for his crimes and compensated for their damages. The trial was long and grueling, but after months of hard work and perseverance, Michael emerged victorious. The judge ruled in favor of the foundation's cause, awarding them millions of pounds in compensation to those who had been affected by Lord Whittington's reign. As the news spread throughout Britain, Michael basked in the glory of his achievement. He knew that he had finally brought an end to a dark chapter in British history and inspired countless others to fight against injustice and corruption. But for Michael, Justice was never truly achieved until he could share the knowledge and experience he gained through his journey with the world. As he lay beneath the prison lights once again, surrounded by stars above him, he knew that there were still many more stories to be uncovered and countless lives to be saved. In their hearts, they knew that no matter how far away or difficult life may seem on this journey, there was always hope for justice and redemption, a promise from one who had fought tirelessly against the darkness of history. And as he lay beneath the prison lights once again, Michael looked up at the sky outside, filled with stars that shined brightly above him, ready to continue his quest for truth in any future challenge that may come their way. Michael, a renowned historian, had spent his life studying the history of England's past. As he grew older and more knowledgeable, he became increasingly fascinated by a dark chapter that haunted Britain, the reign of Whitehall under Whittington's administration, where corruption and injustice were rampant, threatening to undermine the very foundations of democracy and social order. Whittington was one of the most powerful men in England at the time, serving as Prime Minister from 1763 until his death in 1805. His reign saw a significant transformation in society, with numerous scandals, including the infamous Whig Party's betrayal of King Charles II and the notorious Regency era, marked by political intrigue, corruption, and social upheaval. As Michael delved deeper into Whittington's life, he uncovered evidence that his family had played a key role in shaping the country's history. It was revealed that their great-great-grandfather, Thomas Whitworth, had bribed a gardener to smear the real owner of their ancestral estate, Jacob Trentham, as the head of Whittington's office. This revelation shook Michael to his core. He knew firsthand how power and influence could corrupt even the most innocent people, leading them down paths that would ultimately harm others at the expense of justice and morality. For decades, he had dedicated himself to uncovering hidden truths about history, hoping to shed light on these dark corners and bring accountability to those responsible. Now, as Michael revisited his findings from years ago, he discovered a journal tucked away in one of Jacob's rooms. The journal contained detailed records of the Whig Party's activities during their time under Whitehall, including information about bribes, political maneuverings, and secret meetings. It was clear that Whitworth had used his position as Prime Minister to manipulate events for personal gain, enriching himself at the expense of others. Excited by this discovery, Michael began piecing together a timeline of Whittington's reign and the corruption that underlay it. He uncovered evidence that the Whig Party, led by Prime Minister Sophia Sotto-Stewart, had used bribes to sway elections and influence policy decisions, all while protecting their own interests at the expense of ordinary citizens. Michael knew he needed to act fast before the truth could be exposed further. He reached out to his network of fellow historians and scholars, seeking their expertise in uncovering these hidden secrets. With their help, Michael assembled a team of investigators who meticulously studied Whittington's diaries, correspondence, and other records to piece together the intricate web of corruption that surrounded him. As they uncovered more evidence, Michael realized that the corruption was not limited to Whittington himself, but had spread throughout British society at every level. It reached into government agencies, academia, and even among ordinary citizens who were hesitant or naive about the dangers lurking beneath the surface. In a desperate attempt to expose these corrupt practices before it was too late, Michael organized a large-scale trial in London's Old Bailey Court, featuring both former Whigs and accused corruption victims from across England. The trial became a global sensation, drawing international attention as people began to question the very foundations of British democracy and social order. During the trial, Michael presented testimony from key witnesses, including whistleblowers who had exposed Whitworth's corrupt activities firsthand. He also provided evidence that the Whig Party was not just an isolated act, but rather a systemic issue that affected every aspect of society at the time. As the trial progressed, it became clear that many innocent individuals were caught up in this web of corruption and abuse of power. They included politicians, business leaders, and even ordinary citizens who had been left out of the loop due to Whittington's ruthless tactics. Michael knew that he would need to take action if he was going to bring justice for these victims, but also protect his own reputation as a historian committed to uncovering the truth. So he decided to use his position of power and influence to advocate for reform and accountability in government institutions. He worked tirelessly alongside other influential figures, including former Prime Minister Robert Peel and prominent legal scholar Edward Gibbings, to lobby against Whittington's policies and push for stricter oversight at all levels. They presented evidence that the Whig Party had engaged in criminal activities, including embezzlement, fraud, and bribery, which threatened to undermine the very principles of democratic governance. Through their efforts, Michael was able to secure significant changes within government institutions, leading to a new system of accountability and transparency. The Whig Party's corruption scandal became known as the Blackgate Affair, and it served as an important turning point in British history, highlighting the need for greater checks and balances on power and preventing similar abuses from occurring in the future. As Michael stood outside the Old Bailey court, watching as his colleagues presented their evidence against Whitworth, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had risked everything to uncover the truth about Whittington's reign and bring accountability to those responsible for these corrupt practices. But at the same time, he knew that justice was never truly complete until it reached every corner of society. For years, his work had exposed hidden truths about history, but there were still countless stories waiting to be uncovered, just as there are always new challenges and injustices in today's world. As he looked up at the stars outside, surrounded by the bright light that shone above him, Michael knew that no matter how far away or difficult life may seem on this journey towards justice, there was always hope for redemption. For he had made a commitment to continue fighting against corruption and injustice, hoping to leave behind not only an honest history, but also a brighter future for all who seek truth in the world. Michael, a historian with an insatiable curiosity about the past, had always been drawn to Victorian homes and their rich histories. As he visited his dream home in the heart of London's city centre, he couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement at the prospect of uncovering its true origins and learning more about the lives that once lived within these grand walls. However, what followed was not an easy journey. The moment Michael arrived at the Old Bailey court to present his evidence against Whitworth, the notorious mastermind behind a string of corrupt practices in the construction industry, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of trepidation. Despite his reputation as a meticulous and methodical investigator, he knew that proving Whittington's guilt would not be an easy task. As the courtroom doors swung shut on Whitworth's defense attorney, Michael took a deep breath and began to outline his case. He detailed the evidence against Whitworth, from the forged contracts signed by the building contractor to the incriminating letters written in Jacob's secret journal that exposed the truth about Whittington's reign. Whitworth tried to defend himself with evasive statements and attempts at explaining how he had been framed, but Michael refused to let his lies go unchallenged. He recounted specific instances of corruption within the construction team, including bribes to secure work for clients who were later discovered to be wealthy business partners or friends of Whitworth. As the evidence mounted against Whittington's guilt, Michael's colleagues stood behind him with a renewed determination and a steely gaze that sent shivers down the spine. They presented testimony from former employees, witnesses who had been impacted by Whitington's corruption, and even experts in historical reconstruction to solidify their case. Whitworth tried everything he could to defend himself, but it was clear that his efforts were futile as Michael's evidence continued to mount against him. In a dramatic moment of passion, the judge ruled in favor of the prosecution, ordering Whitworth to be held accountable for his actions and face severe penalties, including fines and imprisonment. As Michael sat before the court, staring out at the bustling city below, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had led him here. He knew firsthand the power behind corruption in any system, from politics to business to religion, and how it can easily be masked or manipulated for personal gain. But despite the pain of having his work exposed and the challenges ahead, Michael remained steadfast in his commitment to justice. He knew that he couldn't continue living a life filled with deceit and moral emptiness, but instead, he decided to use this knowledge as fuel for change. He formed an organization dedicated to exposing corruption within the construction industry and advocating for fair compensation and accountability for all those affected by Whitworth's actions. Through his tireless efforts and unwavering dedication, Michael became a respected figure in the field of historical investigation and helped bring about significant changes to the way that businesses were built and regulated. He continued to work tirelessly on uncovering new cases of corruption, inspiring others to follow their footsteps and fight for justice in the face of adversity. And so, as he stood outside the Old Bailey court once again, watching as his colleagues presented their evidence against Whitworth, Michael felt a sense of pride in knowing that he had played a crucial role in bringing about change and ensuring that history was not only written but also lived by. He knew that justice was never truly complete until it reached every corner of society. But for him, the journey towards this goal would continue, with each new case and challenge serving as an opportunity to shine a light on injustices and work towards creating a brighter future for all who seek truth in the world. Michael stood outside the Old Bailey court, his heart pounding in his chest as he listened to the testimony of his colleagues. They had presented a compelling case against Whitworth, the former head of the estate agency responsible for corrupting the local community and land development practices. Whitworth's guilt was clear on their faces, but they refused to let his actions go unpunished. The evidence was overwhelming. Documents, witness statements, and physical evidence all pointed towards a pattern of corruption that reached far beyond just one single case. They had uncovered a trust tied to the estate, with millions of dollars at stake, that was hidden away from view by Whitworth himself. As Michael continued listening to their testimony, he couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and anger for all those affected by Whitworth's actions.